Okay. We have 2 minutes for each candidate. However, after those 2 minutes, we give the opposing candidate a minute to respond, just in case something comes up. Isn't that fair? Okay, that's how we're going to do it. First up, Chase Brannan. You've got 2 minutes. Don't start the clock till he starts speaking.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Chase Brannan. I was born and raised right here in North Florida. I graduated from Baker County High School, 13 out of 300 kids. I grew up here, and I showed cows and pigs, and I was a member of Florida Future Farmers of America and a 4-H'er. I graduated from Florida Gateway College, magna cum laude. I also graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in agricultural education and communication with a minor in sales and management activism. Yes, that's quite a mouthful right there. And I also, after University of Florida, I was selected by Governor Ron DeSantis to be one of 20 Florida gubernatorial fellows to work at the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, where I worked to reopen the state of Florida under restrictive lockdown orders. After that, the governor had selected me, only me, for the Leadership Service Award for my services at the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. I got to go work in the Federal Relations Office at the Governor Ron DeSantis for about 6 months after my service was concluded. I got to go work as a regional field director at Governor Ron DeSantis' re-election campaign. And then another gentleman named CFO Jimmy Petronis, who was our chief financial officer for the state of Florida, asked me to come work on his campaign as a statewide political director. After I helped push me to get elected, I got to go work as the Director of Intergovernmental Affairs at the office of Jimmy Petronis, where I got to deal with rural, local, municipal, and local elected official issues. So I got to deal with your local elected officials, your policemen, your firefighters, your sheriffs, so I know what they go through. And the cornerstone of my campaign is to provide meaningful property tax relief, but also to make sure we take care of our communities out here, because obviously, as we know, our communities rely on these property taxes, and it's only fair that we take care of our physically constrained counties, Baker, Bradford, Union, Columbia. Now, I hate to say Alachua County is not a physically constrained county, but we're going to do something for them too. But we got to make sure we take care of our communities and do it right and effectively. And that there is the cornerstone of my campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rawson, you have 1 minute to respond to that opening statement. You have.
I don't need to respond.
You don't care to respond?
I'm good.
Okay. Then we move on to the next part. Which,
Yeah.
you get 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Too many cooks.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me without the mic?
No.
Okay. Use the mic. First off, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Deanna, for putting on this event. Thank you for everybody who's here tonight. I'm Marshall Rawson. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a small business owner and commercial citrus grower. I'm an officer in the Florida State Guard, former NCAA decathlete, and I earned a law degree from the University of Florida. Most importantly, I'll be your conservative fighter in Tallahassee. I'm running because every day the Florida that we love loses 800 to 1,000 acres of our agricultural lands, our green spaces, the suburban sprawl, shopping malls, and more foreign-owned gas stations. Been giving presentations all across North and Central Florida on the loss of these good things and what we can do about it in Tallahassee to keep more green on the ground. We need policies in Tallahassee to put Floridians above the rest of the world who may want to move here. I'm running because while Tallahassee politicians look you in the eye and tell you how pro-gun they are, they compromise Cade and stab you in the back behind closed doors. As the Young Americans Liberty President, I championed campus carry in the state of Georgia before it spread across our southern states. In the legislature, our constitutional rights will no longer be treated as bartering chips between House committees like they currently are treated as such. I'm running because taxpayers need an advocate in the legislature, not just another cash cow for out of control local government. And for the past 5 years, I've been fighting property tax increases in Bradford County where I live. And I will go to bat for taxpayers in Tallahassee, not just the local bureaucrats that want to take more of your money. I'm running, lastly, because strong communities starts with strong borders. I've served at our Texas-Mexico border, and it concerns me when we have politicians that try to differentiate between criminal illegals and illegals. I will stand with our governor on day one, not work against him like current leadership has, to ensure that we have the most safe and secure border on planet Earth. Folks, this comes down to one thing. Do you want a representative that's going to represent Tallahassee to us or represent our values to Tallahassee?
Thank you. Okay, now we get into the question and answer part. Turn me down just a little bit, please. The first question goes to Chase. Okay. If selected to the Florida House of Representatives, what are the top 2 issues you plan to tackle, and what solutions do you suggest for them?
Thank you. Thank you. Certainly, like I said, the cornerstone of my campaign is to provide property tax relief, but doing it the right way. But there's 2 other things I'm passionate about. One of it is to make sure that correctional officers get taken care of. I don't know if you know, but our correctional officer wages have been through the tank, basically. We need to do more for them. And most of our correctional facilities are over 100 years old, so it's certainly a dangerous environment that they need to be in. So I want to make sure we do something for that here, especially as many correctional institutions that we have in this district. And second, Marshall just talked about, not being a cash cow, but you know what? Out here in these communities, we just don't have the money to be able to buy these things that deserve: ambulances, fire trucks, fire stations, and council on aging buildings, because we don't have the tax base there. We don't have tourism. We don't have hotels. So we got to make sure, the state board can sometimes pay for some of these things, but we're going to do it right, and we're going to do it effectively. And that is what my campaign is about: make sure that we get those dollars, because otherwise, places like Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, they'll be glad to take those dollars. Those resources don't go as far there as it does here. So I'll be glad to bring those investments back home and make sure we get the resources that we deserve. Otherwise, they'll take it from us.
Thank you. Marshall, the same question. If selected as Florida House of Representatives, what are the top 2 issues you plan to tackle, and what solutions do you suggest for them?
Well, first off, Scripture tells us that government has a limited role. And that is defined to 2 primary things. First, protecting life, and punishing evildoers. And so before we do anything, folks, we have more judicial protection for the most depraved, the most wicked of our society in state statute currently than we have for the most innocent and vulnerable. On day 1, I'll author a bill of equal protection that gives the same person status to the unborn that we recognize for everybody else. That would be justice. Overdevelopment and tax and affordability are 2 huge issues concerning our communities, and they're tied to immigration. But I'm going to talk about affordability. When we talk about affordability, when we have 1,000 people moving to the state of Florida every day, your assessed values go up. And what that does is that's pushing the elderly out of their homes, and it is pricing young people out of home purchasing. This is a huge issue that affects our community. We need immediate property tax relief. The current amendment does not go far enough. It's not what our governor wanted, and it does not go far enough. We need homestead exemption, particularly for those homesteaded property owners that have been here for a good period of time. When it comes to overdevelopment, we need to, as if local government wasn't hitting the gas hard enough when it comes to development, we don't need to preempt local municipalities from determining their own zoning, planning rules and regulations like Chuck Brannan has in the legislature. I'm opposed to that, and I will oppose that in the legislature. We also need an environmental standard that puts Floridians first and looks to our aquifer to determine if we can continue bringing on 1,000 people to the state of Florida every day, because it's not sustainable. There's a lot of other issues I would love to talk about when it comes to affordability, but I think I'm running out of time.
Rebuttal? 1 minute?
Well, thank you. And I don't know why he keeps mentioning my dad. He's actually running against me, so I just want to clarify that. But I'll talk about here. And also, my dad's been one of the biggest proponents when it comes to home rule. Make sure that we do what we can for our communities. So I don't know what he's talking about. And in fact, I think the paper last week in the Bay County Press, he just had to recant his statement that my dad was, pro-development. He was not. He had to recant that. So if anything, there's a lot we agree with. But again, like I said, you're running against me, not my dad. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. Okay, now that goes to question number 2. Marshall, you have 2 minutes. The question is, what pertinent experiences do you have that would make you a valuable asset to the Florida House and a suitable representative for District 10?
My law degree from the University of Florida, go Gators. Certainly gives me an edge when it comes to constitutional interpretation, when it comes to crafting, reading, and deciphering state statute, and when it comes to working through the legal process. My involvement as an officer in the Florida State Guard has given me the experience to be able to move quickly under pressure and maturely lead and listen when necessary. Lastly, I've been a citizen advocate for the past 15 years on issues that matter to folks, from as a taxpayer advocate to defending our historic veterans monuments, to defending our Second Amendment. And standing tall on these hard issues has given me the base, the experience to go advocate on behalf of my constituents, if elected, in the Florida legislature on a daily basis, particularly when I'm up against big special interests. And I'm your man to do that.
Okay. Chase, the same question. What pertinent experiences do you have that would make you a valuable asset to the Florida House and suitable representative for District 10?
Thank you, Tony. Well, I go back to my time at the university where I graduated degree there, but also I was a secretary for the College of Agricultural Life Sciences there, and I was the vice chair for the Budget and Appropriations Committee. They're managing a budget of over $20 million. We were in charge of making sure our libraries and our recreational centers were open 24/7 for all students. So I know what it means to keep to the budget and make sure we stay under and make sure we save money for our students. And second, so we talk about in some of my work experience, like the Department of Business Professional Regulation, to make sure that we give people their licenses, the businesses, to make sure they work. We make sure this economy works. So I got to learn about the statutes, the regulations, and the laws of the state of Florida to make sure it works. And also, I got to work at the Department of Financial Services. And not only do you know, but the Department of Financial Services is in charge of the Treasury. So we got to make sure, we always make sure we capture tax dollars and make sure we get them and reinvest them wisely on behalf of taxpayers of Florida. So that is part of my combined experience. And if anything, in Tallahassee, it's about understanding how everything works. My 6 years of spent in Tallahassee working for behalf of Florida and Governor Ron DeSantis and for CFO Jim Petronas, it's about making sure you're bringing that experience in. And I don't know if you know, but the biggest job of a legislator is to make sure that we deliver a budget on time and efficiently, and we got to make sure we do that. And that's why I'm going to be the guy to make sure I understand the budget and bring that to you. Thank you.
Okay, Chase, you have Marshall, you have a minute rebuttal?
I'm good on that question.
You're good? Okay. All right, well, now here's the exciting part. I have no idea what the next questions are. And Vanna, where's the hat? Oh, they cleaned up the hat? Oh, thank you. This is better, bigger print. Chase, what do you hope to accomplish during your term? 2 minutes.
You talk about like a 2-year term?
Sir?
You talk about like a 2-year term or just in general altogether?
Yeah. While in office.
All right, just make sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to make sure, like I said, I want to deal with correctional officers' issues. I want to make sure we get the wages that they deserve. And again, we make sure we get the resources that we need for our communities. And also, tied to overdevelopment, I think we need to be smart about when we say, yes, overdevelopment is an issue, but this country has been growing for 250 years. We should be proud of that. In fact, this country has won 2 world wars because of the growth it's gone. And we should be proud of that. But I think if anything, we need to be smart. We need to be smart about our roads, water, electricity, and our electrical infrastructure. Make sure that is all in place and before we build anything. So I'm pro smart growth, and like I said, that's some things I want to accomplish, but we want to make sure we preserve our rural character out here in our communities. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
The question here is, what experience do you have that has prepared you for this office? Succinctly, what makes you best qualified? I only work here. Okay, so I'm going to give you the same question. Even though that's fair. You guys both have that question. What do you hope to accomplish during your term? There you go.
A little bit of a duplicate from our original pre-scripted questions.
Yeah.
But just to clear the record, my opponent has taken big money from big development, South Florida developers, out-of-state developers, Avery Roberts and his gang, with the promise that he'll greenlight their development proposals. He took most of that money, did a poll, found out that overdevelopment is a big issue in the district. And so now is pivoting, talking about as if he's anti-big development and pro-smart growth. I've been out in the forefront fighting big development as an advocate and as a researcher for the past 5-6 years since law school. So you won't just get conjecture from me. I took the MTRE, but I don't know what that has to do with it.
Excuse me, stop, sir. We're not going to have that.
So if you want a fearless advocate who is going to defend our communities against outside interests, I'm your candidate in this race.
Thank you.
About that, I don't know what developers he's talking about. I'd like him to name a few. And A.B. Roberts, he's a timberman. He owns timberman, is what he does. That's what he's proud of that. I'd be proud of A.B. Roberts to do that. And if you want to have a conversation about A.B. has saved a lot of land from the state of Florida from development. So if anything, I'm proud of that. And I'm proud to preserve our rural character, but I don't know what developers you're talking about. If you should name more than A.B. Roberts, but that's how I feel about that.
Okay, moving on. What is your view on Florida, where Florida stands with Second Amendment rights? Republican candidates say that they support I'm 2A, but go to Tallahassee and forget. Oh, okay. Here's the point. We're talking about preserving Second Amendment rights. Things keep coming up. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to remember when you get to Tallahassee and not just talk about it? That's your question. And that one goes to you.
Yeah, like I said in my intro, I was a Young Americans Liberty president in college in Georgia. I championed campus carry before it spread across our southern states. Our constitutional rights are not commodities to be traded up or down. They're non-negotiable as God-given rights, and I'm honored to have the endorsement of all of our no-compromise 2A advocacy groups like Gun Owners America and National Association of Gun Rights in this room. We need to repeal every provision in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas bill that has attacked our Second Amendment. It's an embarrassment that it took a judge in the First District Court of Appeals to repeal and do what men in the Republican-controlled legislature have failed to do for a generation. So no more games with our Second Amendment rights. This is a dark red Republican district. There's no need for such foolishness.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also a Second Amendment absolutist when it comes to it. I certainly read campus carry and all the stuff, but I do want to make it clear, though, this is the most conservative legislature we ever had, and thankfully they have been working hand in hand with Governor Ron DeSantis. I can say that because I have worked for Governor Ron DeSantis to know some of these results that have happened. And second of all, when it comes to the Second Amendment, the House has delivered on making sure we have open carry. It's always been on the Senate side of things, so we can't control what we can do in the Senate, but we can certainly try to do better relationships over there to try to bring forth some of these bills that we like to have for our Second Amendment rights. But again, like I said, it is not a House problem, it is a Senate problem, so we got to make sure we focus on that. And like I said, I'm a pro-Second Amendment absolutist, though.
Yeah. Okay, do I have any? Oh boy. Okay, next. Will you be voting yes or no on Amendment 3? Does the amendment go far enough, or would you support deeper property tax cuts?
Come back property taxes, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think the proposal the governor's proposed up in the homestead exemption up, in tiered steps, I think that's a very good proposal, and I'm certainly in favor of it too. And I've always felt kind of leery about, taxing people out of their houses, but again, we got to make sure we do this right. The physically constrained counties out here rely on these property taxes, so we got to make sure we have a way to fund these counties and cities. And if anything, there was a good couple ideas that Ron DeSantis had to make sure we had a trust fund to pay for this. I'm also a little leery of that because I don't feel like, we should have government overreach, have to beg money every year. If anything, I think what we should be having is a funding formula to try to figure out how do we pay for our physically constrained counties so our counties can rely upon those dollars and not have to try to question that or cut dollars every year, try to figure it out. I think we need to have a plan in place to make sure that we have the money to pay for our services, but also we do this right and make sure we have meaningful property tax relief without risking a loss of service.
Okay.
I do not think the proposal goes far enough. You know, a few things are more unnatural than denying a man's right to defend his home in person, and then taxing a person's home into perpetuity. And when it comes to making up the difference for local government, if we need to make up the difference, you know, I propose a slight increase in sales tax, 1-2%. But quite frankly, local government is out of control across the board and needs a haircut across the board. One reason why your taxes go up while these appropriations come to the district is because most of these appropriations, or at least a lot of these appropriations, come with an ongoing burden and ongoing liability on the taxpayer. I'm not going to support appropriations that will be an ongoing burden on the taxpayer. It sounds great to have new fire trucks and new fire stations until local government's turning around and they're saying, how are we going to pay to maintenance this infrastructure? How are we going to pay to put personnel in these positions? So they turn around to the taxpayer and tax you, like they did in Bradford County, the new fire assessment tax. What government needs to do is tighten its belt like the rest of us have to, save for a rainy day for the things that really matter and not kick the can down the road on us.
Well, you know, my philosophy is that the counties, you know, they need an ambulance, they have to pay, you know, over $1 million for an ambulance. If anything, if we can pay, the state of Florida can pay for an ambulance, the cost of paying for that is less than a tenth of maintaining it. So if anything, it's a good investment of taxpayers. Now, for example, in Union County, they had 300 missed calls because they did not have an extra ambulance. They had to go outside the county to get an extra ambulance in. So we need to make sure that, you know, we have this coverage, but again, it's about, you know, serving the taxpayers right and make sure we use our dollars effectively. If we can have the state of Florida pay for it, I'd be glad to get that resource and make sure that we have that coverage, because no person, no woman or man or child should wait for service that they desperately need, especially in Union County.
I am going to take the prerogative as the coordinator. I am not going to ask a question that is a direct attack on one of the candidates. Personally, I think that's unfair, and I don't think either one of you want to mess with that. So just so you know, I got a question here. The person that posed that question knows who I'm talking about. When this is over, please approach the candidate and ask him face to face. I'm not going to have our time up here to spend on what I see to be a personal attack on certain families. Okay, so, but the next one, a lot of us have a background in agriculture and farming. And it's important. It's in our family background. And so this is a good question, I think. How will you protect Florida farms and agriculture, and be specific? You go first.
Thank you. Well, we have good news. You know, the Department of Agriculture, we have a program called Rural Lands Families Program, which helps to preserve agricultural land. Now, we can always do certainly more to make sure we maintain our agriculture and make sure we have that. But thankfully, you know, Commissioner Walton Simpson, who's our Commissioner of Agriculture, has taken initiatives to make sure we preserve rural land for generations to come, which is great for us, and also to make sure we get the agricultural land to get. Now, with my agricultural background, I used to raise cows, you know, growing up, and I always had Santa Cruz type cows. We raised over 200 heads of cows over the years, and so I know what takes place with farmers. That's why I'm always proud. I'm proud to be supported by the Cow Pack of the Florida Cowmen's Association. I'm proud to be supported by the Florida Forestry Association. I'm also proud to be supported by the Milk Pack of the Florida Milk Producers. So I know what the agriculture producers go through to make sure that they get the resources that they deserve and make sure they get the home and the pasture they care for. That's why I'm going to be your next great representative to make sure our agricultural lands are taken care of.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I have direct experience in ag, whether that's diddling long leaf pine in the wintertime or that's staying up 3 nights in a row during Christmas freezes with running smudge pots or running irrigation. To Brannan's point, the Rural and Family Land Program is an excellent program that preserves family lands and non-family lands for future generations. We got $1 billion appropriated in our state legislature's budget for affordable housing, which I do not support. Then we can have matching funds for our most ecologically sensitive areas in our ag working lands. It's a one-time investment in our future. Also, we need, like I said earlier, we need to quit the preemption of local municipalities from determining their own zoning, planning rules, and regulations. It is true that current leadership under Chuck Brannan did vote for the agricultural enclave bills and the Live Local Acts that has allowed for more sprawl into these areas. Lastly, we need an environmental standard that looks to our aquifer to see if our carrying capacity can continue bringing on the best base load of 1,000 people to the state of Florida every day, because we need Florida first policies in Tallahassee that put Floridians above the rest of the world that may want to move here, because we have the duty to keep Florida great for all those that are currently here.
So he just talked about the local act. That actually protects farmers' private property rights, because as you know, farmers are getting older. Sometimes kids don't want to be raising cows in future generations. If anything, it preserves their private property rights. But my opponent is saying that he wants to not protect farmers' private property rights. I don't think that's right. I don't think anybody should say, I should, control your private property rights. It's your land. You choose to see how you fit. Now, I hate to say that, sometimes farmers might sell out, but that is their right to do so. But we gotta make sure we do have a job and make sure we preserve these rural lands for generations to come and do it the right way, but not by taking away private property rights.
Okay, this next question, I think I want to throw it out. Y'all want to go more about tax reduction? I think we covered that already. Are you okay to let's pass on that? Both of you? Okay. And no offense to whoever wrote the question. It's a good question, but we already asked that question. Is there any more? Oh my gosh. Okay, well then I better speed up. District 10 is diverse. We agree on that. Limited resources and local leaders with competing ideas. Name one major issue affecting entire district that you can reliably, realistically improve on. How will you bring together all stakeholders for a shared solution? Be specific to your commitment, what compromises you accept to get legislation and budget approved for the district. Did that make any sense to you?
Thank you for the question. Labor is a huge issue in the state of Florida, regardless of what you do, but particularly if you work in agriculture. I got a labor/education bill to get young people back involved in agriculture and agriculture back into our culture by extension. It doesn't only pertain to agriculture though. We're talking about our trades, we're talking about welding, we're talking about mechanicking, aerial drone sprays. What it does is it gives young people school credit and a wage to go work in an agriculture-related field under a rancher, grower, producer, whatever. This will give young people, particularly in suburban, urban areas, exposure to these fields that they wouldn't otherwise, particularly when we have a society that farmers, particularly in the South, are dying out, and there's tremendous pressure to develop. Additionally, we need to be utilizing prison labor once again in a strong way, and have a pipeline for folks getting out of prison that they can get functioning back in society, get them out of those communities. That increases recidivism rate, and it's good for the taxpayer, good for the grower, and good for the former or current inmate. And I've had success doing that in a micro scale in my farm out in Mayo, and I think it should be implemented, across the board. I think it's good for everybody.
I'm going to repeat the question. I'm going to let you respond to what he said. I apologize, but
I think the question had to pertain to, what was realistic about what you could achieve. I'll tell you, this is going to be kind of a funny story, so I want to ask everybody, raise your hands if you're a fan of Alachua County. I'm not a fan either. So I'm not a fan either. It's kind of a funny story, I want to do something for Alachua County, especially the roads that they deal with down in Alachua County, the horrific conditions. The horrific, can you hear me? All right, the horrific conditions of Alachua County, and I want to see if there's a way I can try to deal with Alachua County. Their road systems are being so horrible. They have a $1 billion budget, but they can't maintain the roads. Whereas, we only have several $1 million budgets out here in these fiscally constrained counties, but we still maintain our roads. And I would like to see if I can try to tackle a pet project and make sure Alachua County maintains their roads. And that's something I think that is realistic, how we can try to tackle some of these issues around our district. Thank you.
There's thousands of voters in Alachua County.
okay, thank you. Now, let's moving on. We got 3 more questions, and that'll conclude our activity for this evening. This is for both of you. What is your opinion on data centers? Do you support them or not?
Thank you, and I'm a flat no. And I tell you why, because with all these data centers, they call them hyperscale data centers. I just don't think they're good because they consume all this water, this electricity, and the resources that we have out here. And based on the data that I've seen, thankfully, the state of Florida has been ahead of the curve when it comes to these data centers. We have made sure if a data center does get built in the state of Florida, that the electrical consumption cost is not passed down on to the consumers. So we make sure we stay ahead of the curve on that. But for right now, I'm a flat no on data centers. I think they're a nuisance. They eat too much water. They cause problems. So I'm a flat no. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, the answer is no, and you will not find any AI data center lobbyists on my campaign finance reports.
Okay, next question. What is your view on immigration? There are proposals at state and national level about bills that will allow amnesty for these illegal immigrants that have flooded our country. I added that in there. Do you support this? Do you support do you support the continued operation at deportation activities? So one or the other.
I've served at our border during the Joe Biden administration. It was a total nightmare, total mess. Much worse than the news media even made it out to be. Of course, absolutely, I did not support amnesty. It concerns me, like I said, when we have politicians that try to differentiate between criminal illegals and illegals. If you came here illegally, that's a state and federal crime. We should be waiting around for you to commit a second crime of rape, murder, or even shoplifting before you're deported. We don't give such preferential treatment to our own American citizens. We do not need to give such preferential treatment to those that have invaded our country. I will not support bills that pass over immigration authority to the Ag Commissioner like most of the legislature, including Chuck Brannan, did in 2025. FloridaPolitics.com has deemed me the immigration hardliner in this race. I proudly wear that badge, and I'm a hard no when it comes to amnesty.
First of all, there's been no amnesty legislation ever presented by the Florida legislature, so I don't know what you're talking about. If anything, the legislature has appropriated money to fund some of these deportation centers, especially the Baker County Deportation Depot. And if anything, I was glad to help guys set that up. If anything,
I was able. Oh, you're dealing with it.
If anything, I was proud to set up the pipeline from Baker Deportation Depot to the Lake City Airport to make sure that we get these illegals out. And that was because of my relationship with Governor Ron DeSantis and the Department of Emergency Management to make sure we get that set up. And they relied on me to get those resources there. So I was glad to do that. And like I said, they broke the law. They need to go back to where they came from and restart the process. If you want to come to America, you got to become a citizen first. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Okay? Did you want to respond?
Already. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and
We're out of time. Closing comments from each one.
our last question, it's a short question. I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Okay. Right now, we're in a gun-free zone for schools. Now, a lot of people have concealed carry, but regardless, you're still not allowed to come on any campus with a weapon, concealed carry or not. So the question is, do you support allowing responsible adults to carry on campus to defend themselves or others? And will you file something to the effect of campus carry approval? You go first.
Probably know where I'm going to be on this. Like I said twice already, champion campus carry for spread across our southern states and state of Georgia. Unfortunately, failed in 2014. Gun-free zones make victims out of law-abiding folks. It does not empower anybody but the criminals. So absolutely, I'm all for good training for teachers, for adults, and opening it up for them to be able to carry just like they can carry anywhere else.
election, and I'm certainly for that too. I just think, we need to be able to protect our young children and our families and all that stuff. And thankfully, the legislature has been appropriating money to make sure you're hard in our schools. So, and it might be a little bit more of a different situation for private schools, I believe, Tony, right? To get the money to harden schools and all that. So, if anything, we need to make sure we do the work to make sure our kids are protected. So, I'm a proponent of it. Nothing about it.
Thank you. And just in case you're wondering, I pity the fool who tries to come on my campus and mess with my kids. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Each of you have 1 minute for closing remarks. Let's start with Marshall.
Thank you for putting this event on. I'm Marshall Rawson. Folks, it's going to come down to, do you want, like I said earlier, a representative that's going to represent Tallahassee, its bureaucracy, to this district, or a representative that's going to represent our conservative values to Tallahassee? We can look at who's financing both candidates in this race, make your own decision. If you want somebody who's going to fiercely defend our constitutional rights against Tallahassee leadership, I'm your man. If you want somebody that's going to go to war against predatory developers that are preying on the loss of what's left of Florida, I'm your man. If you want somebody that's going to go to bat for hardening our border and keeping our communities safe, where it starts with strong borders, I'm your man. When it comes to property taxes, you want somebody that's going to keep more money in your pocket and less in out of control, callous, tone deaf bureaucrats, whether we're talking about McClinney, Stark, anywhere, I'm your man. I'm Marshall Rawson. Would love your support.
Thank you. And like I said, my name is Chase Brannan. I want to thank you all for being able to put this event on. I know how much work that you put onto this. And like I said, my name is Chase Brannan. I'm born and raised right here in North Florida. I'm about the only candidate that can say that I'm from up here. I live about 5 miles from the Georgia border, so that's about as District 10 as it gets. And my campaign is about two things: about keeping our state clean, our fiscal house in order. And that's why I've been so proud, to have served this time in Tallahassee, to be able to build those relationships up. Because if anything, in Tallahassee, you got to be a builder of relationships. You got to be a builder of relationships. You can't be a divider. You got to get things done in Tallahassee and understand what it takes to get results. Because you can't be a one-man show in Tallahassee and think you're gonna get results. You got to work with 160 members of the Florida legislature. You're only one person. You got to build relationships. You got to build friendships. And I know that Mr. Adam knows what I'm talking about over there. And we got to make sure that we get the results that we want for our district, because we are physically constrained. We got to get the results that we deserve. And that's why I say, if you want results, you vote for Chase Brannan on August 18th. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-Second Amendment, and I'm anti-tax. Thank you. August 18th.
Okay. Would you please welcome back to the stage Deanna Law, the coordinator of this event, and let's give both these gentlemen another big round of applause.